career up in Tennessee. I'm originally hailed from the suburb of Detroit, Michigan. I want to say I got right with God, and I've been in the South since then. Okay, so it's been 8.5 years in the Army before coming into the realm of policing. I was the first wave of individuals going into Afghanistan. If you've ever seen the movie 12 Strong, the untold story of the horse soldiers, I'm one of about the 18 people in the world that has a plaque naming me as one of those individuals. So I got to see the war on terrorism and everything that goes on. And believe it or not, the world with controlled substance right now is also tied in directly with a lot of terrorism activities. Okay, they are one and the same. All right, they're a big money feeder together. After leaving Nashville, I came here to work in North Carolina. Started working for the State Department of Justice under the elected Attorney General Josh Stein. My full-time function was to teach and develop gangs and curriculum materials for the more than 35,000 plus cops in the state of North Carolina, plus come out and reach out into the community, which is a huge piece. Because I don't know how many overdose death investigations I've worked as a cop, got there and the mom and dad said, I saw this, I didn't recognize it. I saw this, I didn't recognize that. I saw that aluminum foil with the burnt marks, I didn't know what that meant. I saw the burnt spoons in my kid's pants, I didn't know what that meant. Or I chose to ignore it, okay? To me, that was the ground thing. If a parent knew there was some chance of somebody actually stopping, asking, helping, what do you need? What can I do? All right? I'm looking at the mainstay, and most of us look like we're about the average age of 35 if you put us all together. So we're still young. But this young generation's a new world, okay? And everything we can track back what we're seeing out here in the world, this is all biblical, okay? There's no way we're going to change it at this point in time. We may be able to pump the brakes a little bit, slow it down by putting God back in the family, bringing his family back to the dinner table. And I am 100% firm believer on that, okay? I will stand strong in that faith when we talk about this. We talk about what's going on with all this controlled substances, addictions, the level of increase of our controlled substances issues. It results back to one thing: Satan. Okay? So you need to know not only how to arm yourself and protect yourself biblically with the Holy Bible, but you also need to understand how to protect them interior walls from what's going on out there. All right? Because addiction is real. Addiction is extremely real. So the two biggest things we're going to talk about, and we're going to cover two, is because these are our two most prevalently seized controlled substances across the United States. These are also our two most prevalently seized substances that are the causing point of our overdose deaths. And that's horrible. If you've had a family member that's dealt with this, I've seen this firsthand. For us, it was hard. I worked one of the very first overdose death investigations in the state of Tennessee as a drug cop, and I was like, what am I dealing with? What am I looking at? And there's particular hazards that every brother and sister in this room needs to be aware about, because it's not just if you're using that you could come into contact and cause you to go into respiratory duress, meaning cause you to go into overdose, but you could be giving your child CPR. And now you're the second victim that the paramedics have to work on, okay? My ultimate goal is to make sure every brother and sister walks out of here a little bit better educated, knows how not only protect what goes on inside your house, recognize some of the signs, some of the indicators, but know how to take care of yourself in case of an incident, all right? So, fentanyl and meth are two driving forces. But for me, I have to go, how did we get here? What started this? Anybody have a clue how we got to this fentanyl epidemic? Can anybody tell me our base? What is the foundation of what brought us here? Outside of Satan. Greed. I hear greed. Greed's a good playing factor in it. Well, who's part of this greed part from?
There's no question that our best, strongest pain medicines are the opioids, but these are the same drugs that have a reputation of causing addiction and other terrible things. Now, in fact, the rate of addiction amongst pain patients who are treated by doctors is much less than 1%. They don't wear out, they go on working, they do not have serious medical side effects. And so these drugs, which I repeat are our best, strongest pain medications, should be used much more than they are for patients in pain.
Purdue Pharma, illicit marketing scheme, late 90s, bringing oxycodone on deck, all right? Prescribing, talking about that this is the best pain reliever medication with the lowest level of addiction that there is out there. In the late 90s, people were believing that. I don't have to be in pharmacology, I don't have to be a doctor, I don't have to be anywhere in the medical profession to understand that it's 100% a false statement. It's been proven to be a false statement through courts, through summary judgments, through seizures, through warnings that have come out against Purdue Pharma. This started our level of addiction. We're going to talk about why. How do we even get to that? This capitalized on what we already had there, but it took it and increased it in strength. I want you to look at this too. As a nation in the United States, the pharmacy industry is huge. All right? We are a nation fed by addiction, whether you are actually physically addicted to a controlled substance, dealing with a medical grade prescription, or what we take for ailments, what we have been used to. So if you look nationally, the United States, we account for approximately 5% of the world's population. I thought we were a lot larger than I had to actually research that multiple times. I was like, no, the U.S. are bigger than that. But no, we only account for approximately 5% of the world's population. And currently, we are consuming more than 50% of all the pharmaceuticals manufactured worldwide. When I talk about this 50% of pharmaceuticals, I'm not talking the narcotic stuff. I'm talking about things you may take like Coumadin, your blood thinners. I'm talking about reflux medication. I'm talking about anxiety medication. I'm talking something you may take for your sinuses. Zithromycin, your Z-Packs, steroids, your shots, pill forms, whatever it is, your daily maintenance medications. 5% of the world's population, and we're consuming more than 50% of the pharmaceuticals manufactured worldwide. Right now, we are the largest consumer of controlled substances on the prescription side. When you look at the prescription narcotics, when I talk about the prescription narcotics, this is our hydrocodone, this is our oxycodone, our Percocet, Percodan, Vicodin, Lorcet, all of these pain pills that are prescribed out there. 5% of the world's population, we're consuming a little bit more than 69% of all of these pharmaceuticals manufactured worldwide. That should make us go, what does that mean? Does that mean we've just got better health care? Well, yeah and no, but we also have big, deep pockets involved in this. So, we're also consuming a little bit more, I think if numbers break down to about 99.3% of all of the hydrocodone manufactured worldwide. Okay? Why should we care about just that number here in North Carolina? One of the largest producers for Purdue Pharma for hydrocodone sits in the state. We're not that very far from it. It's actually in Wilson, North Carolina. Think about how close the proximity we have to that production plant, how close we are to Wilson, and look at these national statistics and say, you know what, we are actually close to what is going on. I may not have anything going on with Purdue Pharma, but man, we're close to some of the epicenters here. So, Purdue Pharma lays out the whole prescription pills, the new patent on the Oxycontin, which is the actual registered trademark medication, the brand name. Oxycodone is your generic variations of it and everything else that goes down the line from that. They put this in, our nation gets fed by addiction, and I need you to figure it like this. How many of your own family, your friends, maybe your own spouse, in their level of addiction, at some point in time, you can tie something back to a prescription pill somewhere? Even if it's meth, it may start it off as Adderall or Ritalin. All right? The brothers and sisters that have been out there hooking in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, all right, especially the special operators, a lot of those folks, they were giving them Adderall, especially the snipers, because sometimes they would be sitting up on a gun for about 28 to 32 hours, sitting in one spot. They got extremely addicted to that. It was meant to do one thing. It was make them to deliver a round down range with pinpoint accuracy and still maintain like sheer focus, even if they've been sitting in one spot for 18 to 20 hours. I can't do that. I'm too big, man. I mean, I sit in a recliner after 30 minutes. I got to get up and go get a snack, okay? I'm not sitting in one place for 16, 18 hours. So there's always levels of addiction to this. But before that, we didn't have control measures in place. And we had people going all over for this prescription pills. In Florida, once oxycodone came online, Florida capitalized on this prescription pill mill epidemic. All right? And when I say they capitalized on it, I could essentially pull out of this parking lot, say this was the doctor's office. Dr. Cody was prescribing me oxycodone because I showed up and came from North Carolina to say, hey, I've got foot pain, I've got plantar fasciitis. He's like, oh, that's bad. He doesn't even do a physical examination. He cuts me a prescription, hands me 90 days worth of oxycodone pills, or gives me 90 oxycodone pills. I would pull out of the parking lot. Let me tell you how close these places were. I would go across the street to where like the fire department is. And I'd walk into another doctor's office in Florida that I came from North Carolina, walk in there and talk about my chronic back pain. No MRI, no nothing, no actual hands-on physical exam, no nothing that is supposed to be done. Doctors just, oh, that's bad. Cut me a prescription for 90 oxycodone pills. There was no prescription monitoring databases in place like there is now. So we realized that. People were going to these pill mills. And how does this look? Okay, let me show you how bad this is. This is a pill mill in Florida. This is supposed to be, quote, unquote, a doctor's office. Now, here's a clue to an illicit prescriber. Everyone that goes to this doctor's office is told, do not come on the property until the office manager gets here. You're not allowed on the property. I'm going to call that a clue because unless my spouse works at the doctor's office or I'm really good friends with them, or like my kids, you go see Dr. Clapp down there in Lenore a whole lot, I'm down there in Gainwell, and my kids are in there all the time. I got a 3 and a 5-year-old, so yeah, my copay's already paid up for the year, so thank y'all. So we know then who the office manager is, but I call that kind of a clue if they say you can't come on the property. Why? All right. So the office manager, you're going to just watch this guy start to walk up the sidewalk. Watch how fast things transpire at this location with the customers. Now, as you look, too, there's people just hanging out. How many times do you grab a buddy of yours and say, you know what, I got to go to the doctor's? Cody, just ride with me. Let's go to the doctor's office. Not get there 30 minutes early. We just start hanging outside of the car. If that happens, y'all need to start asking me and Cody questions, okay? Immediately. So there's the office manager. How fast does this happen? This isn't an investigations class, okay? But I can tell you there's multiple clues, indicators, things that I would think of if I was trying to look at this doctor's illicit prescriber, not to mention this Dodge Viper that pulls up. Double parks up front, that's a doctor. How many of your doctors pull up at the front door? Okay. Again, not an investigations piece, but I want to say, how many people showed up that fast, all right? I've been to some good doctors, but I ain't never tried to rush and beat people in line to get to the counter, okay? If my appointment's at 8:15, I'm probably there about 8:05. Then we got it. I ain't trying to overstep you getting in the door at 7:30, 7:45. There's no reason for me to be there, okay, that early. So this is what it spun this out of control, coupled with Purdue Pharma, all right? So we understand the strength and the level of addiction that we're dealing with prescription medications, okay? Because of this overprescribing, the level of addictions that was going on in tons abundance of people traveling there, we started putting stopgaps in place. So these were prescription monitoring databases. So here in North Carolina, that doctor in Florida will look at a database and go, Bill just came in from North Carolina. Why is he coming to the doctor's office in North Carolina? Well, I could be on vacation. I could have just got hurt. But why did I come and see 3 separate doctors in Florida from North Carolina? So it ultimately lands on the physician's supposed to check, but most state laws say the pharmacist shall check the registry, whatever the database is named. For here in North Carolina, it's called the Controlled Substance Reporting System. It's actually 2 separate laws under the HOPE Act and the STOP Act, okay? What that did was it stopped our flow of this. It reduced volume of our illicit prescribers, meaning a dirty doctor. Okay, there is greed. Somebody talked about where does it start from? Greed. Do you know how much doctors were making off of this? There were some prescribers that like these prescription pill mills. You would talk to them and ask, what are you netting? Or when they started looking, they ended up in an investigation, and you started asking simple things. How much do you think you made this last 6 months? And they go, oh, well, I paid myself $180,000 a year. And I'm like, no. According to your statements in these 3 bank accounts that you're washing and funneling your money in, I see that you paid yourself about $480,000 over the last 6 months.
Well.
Yeah, there's your greed factor, coupled with the addiction factor. Okay? So, 2 huge things that took on. So, we get to a point in time where we're like, we need these pills, but we can't get them. So what happens? Our cartels start to get into play. This is where we're reaching outside of the U.S. for something in here. So our cartels start hearing the request from the dealers, the boss heads, the cartel plaza bosses, who are like big managers within the cartel operations, not just in Mexico, but here in the U.S. on both sides of the border. And they were hearing the request for these prescription pills because we choked that piece of addiction out, because it was easily for anybody to go to multiple doctors and literally gain 500 to 800 oxycodone pill prescriptions a day. All right. Coupled with, if I'm not only a user, but I could sell those pills too. And a 30 milligram oxycodone tablet, just so you know, on the street, the going rate is $30. Okay. That's a lot of money. Okay. Right now, that bottle with 150 extra strength Tylenols that I buy from Walmart is about $5. All right. That's got me covered for multiple months. So I see what the dealers make off this, because I know I used to deal with the dealers and I used to act like a dealer. So I used to set other people up doing this as undercover for a period of time. So we've taken this away. The cartels start to hear this. The cartels, because they're not a nonprofit, they go, how are we going to deal with this? And they're research and development folks, and they legitimately have research and development folks. Research and development folks sit down and say, you know what? This hits on your mu receptors. That's your opioid uptake receptors, where there's pain medication. Anything that's an opiate or an opioid feeds on that neuroreceptor in your brain. So if we put heroin into place, heroin is 2 times stronger than a prescription pill. 2 times stronger. That means they don't have to make as many trips, meaning most of our individuals that were using a 30 milligram oxycodone tablet would have to use 4 to 6 to 8 of those tablets a day. Okay? So yes, we were seeing overdoses from that, especially when they were trying to break the pill down and shoot it, or snort it, or smoke it. All right? So at $30 each, you're up to about $240 a day. Cartels sit down and say, here's what we're going to do. If we put this heroin in place, 2 times stronger, we can make the U.S. market and drive it at the time, around 2010, once it started spiraling back up, we'll bid about $60 a gram. Okay? Because it's 2 times stronger, our level of addiction just did what? increased twice. All right, there's strife again. Again, who's on the backside just clapping his hands, saying, "That's fantastic. My players are making more money. You get a bonus this year. You get a bonus this year." All right. Somebody's capitalizing off this. It's greed, it's the addiction factor. So we started seeing heroin come into place. So heroin comes in multiple forms. What you're seeing here is this isn't pictures from anywhere else. These are pictures here in North Carolina. All right. These come more specifically from the North Carolina Western Regional Crime Lab. That's in Eddyville. It works under the State Department of Justice. All right. Every picture you're seeing up here is an example of tar heroin. Best way to describe tar heroin. Number one, the smell. If you find a substance that you think is a controlled substance, I have to give you this advice. Do not pick that up and try to smell it. Okay? I've worked 2 overdoses where a parent did that, and we got called after the paramedics arrived there. And the paramedics know it was an opioid overdose issue because once they hit them in Narcan, they come right out of it. That's your telltale sign right there. So, strong odor of vinegar that comes from this. All right. Now, some of y'all got teenagers, some of y'all got grandkids that are teenagers, and even when they come out of the shower, they still got that odor of vinegar. You're like, seriously, you missed like 19 spots. You will have to get back in the shower and get clean again. All right. Oh, you don't know what deodorant is? Let me introduce you my friend Old Spice here, or Degree or something like that. We all understand that. We've got kids that are like that. But this, coupled with pieces of aluminum foil, all right? Syringes. I'm going to call that the number 1 clue. If your kid, your family member, your spouse or somebody is not a diabetic, why should they have a syringe in their bedroom? Especially if there's a tie-off, whether it's a big, thick rubber band, a zip tie, several zip ties put together. And you're like, why does my kid got zip ties? So a kid can have zip ties, but if you start looking at it, you find this, and you look at the zip ties, and you start seeing things like, looks like blood on the zip ties, and changes in their behaviors. Okay? They become disassociated with friends at school. They get more lazy and more lax than most teenagers would get. When you're talking to them, they almost look like they're going into the comatose state. Tired all of a sudden, tired a lot, needing money a lot. And at the same time, when you're telling them, I ain't got extra $30 to give to you today, all of a sudden, unique things start missing from your house occasionally. So all of a sudden, a pair of earrings comes missing up from your jewelry box, a bracelet. That $40 you may have had tucked in a Bible somewhere that your kid knows about, it's gone. All right? These are all indicators of things you're going to see dealing with this. You need to pay attention to this. So, there's other forms. There is China White, and there's brown powder. And just so you understand that this is a fast production method. When I say it's fast production method, if I'm making this, if I'm a cartel, and say we're close to a border location, more specifically like San Ysidro, El Paso, Nogales, all right? From the time I cut and derive the raw opium from the opium poppy flower plant, Papaver somniferarum plant, and convert it into this. This is the most crude and the dirtiest method of heroin, but it works. The tar heroin, from the time I pluck it from the plant, make it, mix it, produce it, drop it in somebody's back, put it in a trap in a car, put it in one of these individuals that are walking across our borders right now, to the time it hits a stash house, to the time it hits a dealer, to the time somebody is on the side of the street, tucked up against the building, and actually shooting off, it's about 12 to 18 hours from what we call farm to harm. Okay? That almost takes me that long to make potato salad. Okay? Because I'm going to mess it up about 3 times, and 2 times I probably dug into it too, and my wife caught me and said, look, you can't be eating out of the same dough, dipping out of the same bowl, the rest of eat out of it. And I'm like, they ain't going to know, and they're like, they know you. And I'm like, all right, I got to make another batch. So, This is how fast the stuff comes in. This is our more pure method, that China that's out there. So you hear various names. If you're searching or seeing your kids' phones or anything like that, if you hear anything like tar, G, brown, white, China, everything is referenced to both those types of heroin. G is an indicator for gram, okay? That's the user amount. Somebody says, I want a point, I need a point. If your kid is not playing a sport and they're saying, I just scored a point, what does that mean? That is a drug method. That is a dosage amount. That means 1/10 of a gram. That's what they're getting. So, the other thing is, if I see this foil, if I see certain things just like cut pieces of pen, what does that do? How does that, I don't get it, because I've had multiple families say, I found this foil in my kids' backpacks when they've come from school. I found it in their pants in the laundry, their jackets or something like that. Or I suspect my spouse is using it, and I found this inside of their car. My best way, my method of learning is going to somebody who is using, okay? So we videotape individuals, and they explain to us, what does this oil mean? Just like this guy's going to do.
Here, it's got two different sides. One side is really dull, the other side is really shiny. The shiny side is what you're going to put the heroin on top of, because since it's more slick, then the heroin, when it melts, it slides easier and makes you smoke it. You take a pile of heroin and you put it on one side right there. You take the lighter, you burn it underneath so that the heroin sticks. Can you show me the pattern of the trail? Oh yeah, the pattern of the trail. I start it off right here, right? So I start off with the heroin at that end, okay? Once I light underneath it and I make the heroin stick by melting it out a little bit, then I can turn it this way, because I have to go to the tilt so you can smoke it. And then when you smoke it, you put it in your mouth.
Two things he's talking about, the foil and the tutor. And I want to say this is very important, because I don't know how many times I've looked at a parent or a spouse in an overdose, death, and they said, I've seen just those items, and I wish I'd have known, all right? So even if you don't want to come up here at the end, okay, this ain't no altar call or anything, but I'm going to pass some of this stuff around. I want you to look at it. This is exactly what he is talking about here. Every item that I have up here looks like actual real dope. I gotta let you know that. It is not. None of this is gonna hurt you. These are props that I've made. Things that I would actually use, trying to look like the user when I'm out there doing undercover operations, stuff like that. Please take a look at this. This tutor is something that they're putting in their mouth to actually inhale the smoke. If they put a pill or something on here, once they put a pill on there, stick a lighter underneath, they'll start to roll it around, all right? So that is a smoking vessel. So I'm going to pass this around. Again, it looks used and dirty. It's not, it ain't going to hurt anybody. I promise y'all that. I think law enforcement at this point in time would look bad at me if I was passing around live dope, like giving samples and stuff like that. I don't know, some of y'all are like, man, I thought we was going to get some samples. So, other things we're seeing out here to be aware of. It's glass hammers. A lot of people look at this and your automatic suspicion is, well, it's a glass pipe and I see a little bit of a, looks like a copper filter in there, so it's got to be a crack pipe. It's not, okay? So what they call a glass hammer. This has come through harm reduction stuff. So this started out People's Harm Reduction Alliance. That's where I've actually grabbed some of this information stuff. But some of these pipes have actually landed here in the same city, all right? So it didn't just stay out west. Everything that happens out there in California, the United States of California, that other different part of the world, it ends up here occasionally. All right. So we need to know what we're looking at. I don't want you to be under the assumption saying, "Oh, that's crack." I want you to know exactly what you are looking at. I want you to have definitive answers as a family member, spouse member, if there's children, grandchildren. It may not be a family. It may be somebody in your congregation. Okay. Nobody is beyond this. This has no barriers. This is how bad Satan is working with this level of addiction, trying to drive into what we are doing, how we are trying to stay right every day. Syringes. Again, I ask myself something simple. Why does my 15-year-old child have a syringe under their bed? And the syringe looks used. They're not a diabetic. They ain't been working out, so I'm pretty sure they ain't shooting steroids. Coupled with the fact I look at them and I'm looking at their pupils, and their pupils look a little bit off. Okay? What's going on with their pupils? Why am I seeing their pupils start to get pinpoint? Why is their demeanor sluggish now? Why is their grades going down? Why can I not get them up? Why are things coming up missing from my house? Why are they disassociating themselves from me? Those are, everything I'm telling you about is a sign that you need to pay attention. And it's not just one, it's multiple pieces. And for us, when we see it, we go, I don't want to believe it. Nobody does. Who wants to believe that that's your kid? Your grandson, your granddaughter, your niece, your nephew, your best friend, your husband, your wife. Nobody wants to believe that, okay? But you need to recognize it to know how to intercede and interject and say, stop. Let's get you help. Let's try to work you through help. I can put people through programs, but that individual also has to want, make that desire. They have to make that choice, okay? This is where we go one step further, just outside of us, human nature. This means we're back on our knees and we're praying to God to actually intervene and take care of this immediately, okay? I'm passionate about this because I can't see this happen in my own family, not in my own household, okay? But I've got other family. I have a brother who spent most of his adult life from the time he was 17 years old in prison when he got out when he was 34 years old. His entire adult life off of meth. I didn't see that growing up. I grew up in the church. Grandma and my dad. My dad was a preacher, worked at General Motors. My grandma, even when I went to church with my parents, I darn sure was there with Grandma and Grandpa every Sunday of my life. Never saw it. Never saw it. How did it happen? When I got that first call that said he just got arrested, I was already a cop. And I sat down and I said, I'm sorry, what? For what? And when they told me that, I was like, where did this come from? Okay? So there's more of a power, there's something else that we have to do besides just trying to offer somebody help. All right? So there's instructions on basically how to use this. You want to learn a little bit about some of this? Go to some of these harm reduction alliance, harm reduction websites, and look at the stuff that they're going to give people. Now, this isn't an argument for or against harm reduction. What this is I want you to have another resource so you can pull up on the internet and do some reading by yourself and say, wow, what are these little straws for? And it'll explain it on there. This one here is peoplesharmreductionalliance.org. Go there. You can see multiple items of paraphernalia that they give to individuals to try to cut down on communicable diseases that are cross-contaminated from this. So that means that my users are dealing with the risk of catching an added disease outside of what goes on from the addiction. Guess what that also means for you when this stuff is in your house. Okay? You're touching it. You're going through the kids' pants. You're emptying the trash. You're cleaning the rooms. You're picking up the floors. You're at work. You're cleaning up things at restaurants and stuff like that. Thanks, sir. If you own a business, we need to get your employees educated. All right? There's just a general safety of this outside of trying to take care and protect our own. So, other things you'll see. Packaging. Packaging is more than just corner baggies. It's them small, silly Ziploc style bags. And I've got some of those up here. So afterwards, feel free to come up here and we'll go through everything from A to Z on this. All right? These bags, I want you also to pay attention to. Some of these bags, like I was at the pharmacy the other day, walked up the counter, they got some of these bags. Okay? And they're called individual pill bags. Guess who else has these? Every smoke shop, every shop you pass on the side of the road that has a flag flying that says hemp, CBD, Delta 8, Delta 10, Kratom. Walk in there. Just walk around, browse the shop. They ain't gonna tell you to get out. They ain't gonna say, are you trying to be an undercover parent? You're gonna have to leave. Just walk in. Ask them, hey man, what is this for? You'll see these bags, especially when you see these small bags and they've got emblems on them, like skulls, bombs, thunderbolts. Okay? Just simple things. You're like, why Where do they sell that at Walmart? That's what I use as the common denominator. If this ain't at Walmart, probably something's a little bit off on it, okay? Unless I made a really good paycheck and I can afford Publix that week or something like that. So, other things we're going to find. Little folded up pieces of paper, little things like lottery tickets, folded up pieces of lottery tickets, little quarter bags. This is our number one thing. Everybody's got a baggie in the house. Everybody's got a baggie. I run out of foil a lot of times. I ain't got the small baggies. Probably ain't got glassine envelopes unless you're a stamp collector or a specific jeweler. So the corner baggies. Those corner baggies also come off a baggie itself, and I'm going to show you what it looks like in a second. So corner baggies with residue. What does this mean? I have yet to pack my kids' lunch and throw some chips in a bag, in a baggie, dump it down in the corner, tear it off, and tie it in a knot. No, I keep it in the baggie the entire time, okay? I could say, I would expect if I did that, the teacher at school would call me and say, Mr. Laux, your son came in with a corner baggie of Cheetos today that he called an 8-ball. We need to talk, okay? I'm going to be like, oh. So there's another term. If you hear or see ball or an 8-ball, it's a reference to the amount of measurements, weight of somebody, the dope that they're wanting to purchase. And that is 3.5 grams. So, other things to pay attention to. Just exactly what I'm showing you here. These are things, pictures I've taken on arrest that I've seen that parents should understand and know what it is. Down to the pills. Why are these pills that my kid has? Number one, I don't know anything about this prescription. I didn't take them to the doctor. Number two, why are they not in a prescription pill bottle? All right? I've traveled a lot, so I'm not carrying like 6 different bottles of medication, so I'll put them in those little pill holders. That I can say that, but I've never jammed like 15 pills in my pocket, okay? And I can tell you with great certainty that 99.9% chance that somebody's got 15 pills jammed in their right pocket, and they're out there in the wrong part of town, or they're out there on the backside of Walmart, where none of us go, you know. There's some bad places that's meant for somebody selling, or they just bought a large amount. Again, the syringes, scales. How many sets of digital scales have you seen, or what can you think in reasonable, like just caution? Should a child have a set of digital scales in their room? I got digital scales in my house. They're sitting in the kitchen, and they're large. They're about the size of this. I don't have those little digital scales. They're about this size, tucked up in the driver's side door of my car. We're sitting in the center console with residue on it, okay? That to me says one thing, and I know what that residue is going to be. It's going to be geared towards what they're messing with. They're going to weigh out the dope that they are buying to make sure the dealers are ripping them off, or they could potentially be the sellers, and they're weighing up the dope to actually give to somebody else. So digital scales, ask yourself this, because I've had 2 parents call me and say, I don't know what this is. It looks like a CD case. And that's how old school it was. It said CD case. And I was like, oh man, that is so 2018. And it's like, when I open it up, it's like a set of digital scales on it. And so what does it look like on top? She was like, it's a cross between salt and glass. It's going to be math. It's going to be math. So I'll come over and help you, okay? Because I've got a lot of field test kits and stuff like that, and I've come and helped out a few parents. I've had parents bring stuff over to my house to show me, like, I'm on my way to your house, and I'm like, okay, you have to give me a minute. Like, how close are you? And all of a sudden I hear my driveway alarm go, ding dong, and I'm like, man, I gotta go put some britches on. So, simple things, digital scales, syringes, again, pipes. What are these pipes? Look at the different pipes. There is a crack pipe, all right, glass, mostly glass, crack pipe doesn't always have to be glass, it could be anything, but you're gonna see some sort of filter in there. Most likely it's gonna be a Brillo type filter, copper filter, all right? That's to withstand some of the heat and everything. But then we also have our meth pipe, which is a glass pipe with a ball end and a hole in it. And it's ironic, you're thinking, man, where can you get this stuff? Etsy, Prime. I know because I just ordered some of the stuff that I use for training. These glass pipes here, I ordered a box of 76 of those and I have that little rose inside of them. And if you're old school enough, you know what that looked like, okay? They're selling these, and these are listed as fancy cocktail bubbler straws. I'm like, seriously, when is the last time, like, I've never opened up my drawer at the house and been like, let me go ahead and drink this little bourbon here through this, like, meth-looking straw, okay? So, I'm going to pass this around because I want everybody to see what some of this looks like when I talk about the pipes. If you see it, I want you to be able to immediately identify it and go, this is problematic. I'm going to call that probable cause. I'm going to call that, yes, something is going on. I don't need to say this is suspicious. I need to say I am confirmed at this point in time on this. The digital scales with residue, tons of syringes, used baggies, burnt spoons. Oh, that's huge. Because I find this in probably about 80% of all of my death investigations or my opioid or meth investigations. And this is exactly what we're seeing. Can anybody in here tell me what this is? It looks like you heat up something in a spoon, and that's exactly what is going on. If I'm using meth, if I'm using tar heroin, if I'm using powder fentanyl, whatever that substance is, I have to take it from a solid form, even if it's a powder, and convert it to a liquid form to draw it up into the vessel, the needle portion of the syringe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this spoon, and I'm going to lay a little bit of liquid on that spoon. And that liquid is going to be one of three things: water, spit, or urine. Yeah. So a constant user who's got a very dry mouth and just spent the last $20 they got on 1/10 of a gram of what they think is fentanyl, and they don't have any money for anything to go into the Stop and Rob and go buy a bottle of water, they're going to try to pee on the spoon. Okay? They're not going to use leftover like liquid. They're not going to use any sort of pop soda. They're not going to use any energy drink because that stuff has sugar in it. Okay? So what they are doing is they're laying that substance on there, water, spit, or urine, putting it on there, adding that liquid on there. They will take it, start to burn it, start to boil it, because what they're trying to do is reduce that solid down to a liquid. Same thing when you make a sweet tea. You dump that sugar in there and stuff like that, or a lot of sugar, like if I'm drinking it, a whole bunch of sugar if I'm drinking it, and you're melting it down, okay, you have to do that to convert that to a liquid. From there, they take the cotton off of a Q-tip. They pull it off and use that as the filter, or a butt out of a cigarette, like a cigarette butt, use that as the filter. They'll stick the syringe inside of that filter, and what that does is take out some of the impurities. That's what they think. Takes out some of the impurities and stuff like that. Draw it up in the syringe from there, tie off, shoot up, hit a vein, whatever the case is. All right. It does not have to be the spoon. It could be a soda can flipped upside down. You know how it's got that beveled edge? And if you can't think about what I'm thinking, next time you pick up a drink or something like that, just look on the bottom and go, oh, that's what it is. Or tea light candles. I don't know how many places I'll go into, and it's a grandson or a granddaughter living at grandma's house. Grandma usually has a lot of tea light candles. That's just an old school thing. It's still like old potpourri. Like grandma go to Kmart, that's how old school I am. Grandma go to Kmart, buy that 2-pound bag of potpourri that smelled for 4 years. okay? And I was never able to touch it. It always sat in one place on the centerpiece of the table, and you smoked it for 4 years until she re-upped, okay? So, but she would always have like tea light candles. So that little metal piece where the wax was at, that's what they use also, instead of the spoons and stuff like that. So these are things I want you to pay attention to. So now you know kind of how they prep this stuff. But the next thing is, man, how do we get to fentanyl? We were talking about heroin. How do we get to this current day epidemic? Because I don't hear so many things about heroin. I'm hearing now about fentanyl. Okay. Our cartels, again, start to reach out and do this. They look statistically, because yes, cartels are a hundreds and hundreds of billion-dollar business, the drug trade is, all right? And it's not just our Mexican cartels. It could be our Bulgarian cartels that are on the opposite side of the world. It could be our Colombian cartels. It could be anyone that's cartel affiliated. But our Mexican cartels are controlling 99.9% of the drugs coming here into the U.S. And we are the largest consumer of controlled substances in the world. All right? How do we get the fentanyl? The cartels look at this fact and say, you know what, everybody's hooked. They're digging this issue with heroin. What we need to do is we need to increase this. Because right now, heroin has increased the sales of cocaine at this time, about 2014, by about 400%. From a business perspective, if I just put a new item into place and it just increased my sales by 400%, Lord, I've cornered the market. Because they've got good research and development people, they sit down and say, you know what, we're going to put fentanyl in place. Why fentanyl? Well, fentanyl is about 70 to 100 times stronger than that prescription pill. Oh yeah. Fentanyl is 70 to 100 times stronger than that prescription pill. What does that mean? How high did our level of addiction just increase? 70 to 100 times. All right? So they also said we could derive more profits instead of buying most of the raw opium that they needed for heroin, which they were diverting and buying from Southeast Asia, terrorist-laden countries and stuff like that, or countries that we've labeled that have terrorist interests. Now they sat down and said, we can buy the precursors that we need for this, especially like 4-ANPP, one of the immediate precursors that's necessary for it. Now they get it through illicit marketing or illicit brokers from China. Guess who just stepped into our realm of addiction now? Who are we, according to every news outlet, which I don't believe any, raise your hand if you believe any news outlet at this point in time. All right, for those of y'all live on TV, not a hand went up out here, okay? You have to look at the camera because other folks are watching us live, so. They have stepped into this, okay? And they're got a large portion at stake and involved in this. So we start putting fentanyl into there. Fentanyl starts to hit everywhere in the U.S. North Carolina got smacked hard because North Carolina has one of the largest ports on the eastern side of the United States. All right? And a lot of this comes off of shipping containers. And I know you're like, well, I thought that stuff was put in cars and it comes up through the border. No. Cartels, because they're very smart, knows that we're going to look at just about every car and a ton of indicators if you cross the border. If you're coming in through Mexico, there's about a laundry list of 100,000 things. I don't care if you're by yourself or you could be sitting there looking like a reverend with a black outfit and a white collar on. All right? There's a lot of indicators, things that I'm going to look at before I go, yes, you can come in, or I go, you're going over to secondaries for the next level of search. Okay? Because of that, they figure that we're knocking off a lot of their dope, they figure out how to change their delivery systems. So they started rearranging some of their stuff and pushing it south instead of north into the U.S., started pushing it south and rerouting it on shipping containers and through other various methods that was going into the Horn of Africa. It would hit the Horn of Africa, and it would get broken down into other shipping containers that were coming back across the world, landing at all of the ports, like we have here in North Carolina. From there, those things just started coming off. And if you've never seen one of those ships that have those connexes and those big shipping containers on it, a lot of people are like, well, why don't we just search them? Or if you ain't never seen that huge ship with like 1,200 of those individual shipping containers on there, it's impossible. Okay? It's like finding an effective diet plan for this cat right here. It's impossible. All right. It's just so much. And there's so limited resources to go look at some of this stuff. So put fentanyl in place, and this is predominantly for the cartels. Cartels say it's 50 to 80 times stronger than the actual prescription pill. 49 or 51 to 99 times stronger than heroin. We're going to get all of our main precursors from out in China and mix it in Mexico. And right now, just so you understand how much that can be made from this and how strong and how potent fentanyl is and all of its synthetic and semi-synthetic analogs right now, I could essentially take a gram of fentanyl, mix it, break it down right. Here in Morganton, catch users. I ain't even got to know the users. I know where the users are at, okay? Give me 5 minutes to Walmart, I'll get you dope deal. I promise you. All right? Give me 5 minutes in Lowe's, I'll get you dope deal. All right? We ain't even talk about going to Backside of Roses or something like that. Any Dollar General, give me 3 minutes in the parking lot. I got it. It ain't that hard. Let's go over to the high school here. Give me a few minutes in the hallway. Your kids got it. All right? It's not hard to get that. I can take a gram, essentially, of fentanyl, cut it, meaning mix it with lactose, other baby formulas, baby laxatives, sugar, isotol, whatever it is, mix it. I can take that 1 gram of fentanyl that I probably bought literally maybe $100, and I'll turn around and flip it, make over $10,000 in that 1 gram, and I bet you I can do that. Hold me, take me to the bank within 72 hours here in the city of Morganton. Okay. Now the people that are buying this are not buying this via the internet, and you don't have to buy this over the darknet either. If I get on Wicker, if I get on Reddit, I will find the sources. If your kid has this, if they have any access to this, a phone, a tablet, a smart device, they've got access to it. It's an open door for them. The other point of this, we need to be looking at what is happening on here. All right? And don't be that parent saying, well, I got to give my kids privacy. That's that same parent that was 20 years ago saying, let's just give them all trophies. How's that worked out? Okay? How's that worked out? All right? I shouldn't spank them. I should just tell them first. No. I didn't fear, let me be straight. I didn't fear my 4'11" mama. I didn't fear my 6'1" daddy. I feared grandma, though. Because I had 3 things with her. A switch, which in turn of her telling me she was going to beat the brakes off of me, was going to the tree to get that said switch, where she then did beat the brakes off of me, or it was a broom. If we were anywhere downstairs and I messed up, I knew what that delivery tool was going to be. And I was like, oh Lord, she's going to get the broom. And let me tell you, my grandma can run. If I was running away like, trying to sass as a 9 or 10-year-old, like, grandma ain't going to find me. Where I am? Next thing I know, I'm in a dustpan, and I'm like, what just happened? Or if I was in the kitchen, I'll tell you exactly what a spatula mark looks like on your backside of your thigh. So, have to pay attention to this. So, the importance of this is, number one, this is crazy addictive, okay? And I want you to know this. The next question is, why do people use this stuff if they know they're going to die? Or if there's a huge increase or a chance of them dying? That doesn't make sense. To you and I, it doesn't. But to the opiate addict, somebody with substance use disorder, it does. Because the ultimate high for an opioid addict is to get as close to death as possible. Meaning they know they're running that gauntlet. They want to get there. They want to be there, and they don't want anybody Narcan them. They're hoping that they could just come out of it themselves without somebody Narcan them, because once I hit them with Narcan, it puts up a wall, basically coats those nerve receptors, your opioid uptake receptors, your mu receptors, and it stops that. So that's what brings them out. It doesn't like heal them miraculously, it just stops those signals going to that nerve receptor. When it does that, for those users, it also starts the withdrawal process. So I could revive somebody, literally have to hit them 4 to 5 times with Narcan, and looking at them, and they're up. They are not high anymore. There's no overdose. There's no nothing going on. They're not showing visual signs of cues of impairment, and they're talking to you, and you're like, you were dead 5 minutes ago. And they're like, yep. And I'm like, okay, we're going to take you to the hospital. No, I'm good. You're like, no, that's not how this works. I'm good. And they're wanting to shoot you out because they need to hurry and go get some more. And let me be clear, if somebody dies from this, the more people that, what they call, get put down or go out from this, the bigger your line gets for your customers. That's why when I told you that gram, how I can flip a gram out here in $10,000 within 24 hours here in Morganton, 24 to 48 hours, as soon as the bodies start dropping, people start going out, everybody's asking around, where's that at? Where's he at? Where's that new dope at? Where's this particular color at? Where's the substance at? For you and I, that's just crazy, okay? Now, I flip the switch and go, okay, why would somebody eat so much at a buffet that they almost feel like they're dead when they walk out? I get it from there, because that's like me at Golden Corral. Like, I get thrown out of there. They're like, no, bro, you pay for one person, you ate for 5, you're going to have to go. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be here 5 hours. I ain't even hit the dessert line. You're going to have to give me a few minutes. The mindset of our users right now, due to the level of addiction, that's why I paint, when something's stronger in a prescription pill, heroin, 2 times stronger in a prescription pill. Our level of addiction, just boom, increased. Fentanyl, 75 up to 100 times stronger, all right? Now all this other stuff that we've got out there, the xylosines and all these nitazines, up to 100 times stronger. We've got carfentanil out here. That's up to 10,000 times stronger than our prescription pill. So here's what it looks like for the adjusting method. What are we going to actually see? What would you potentially see at your house? All right? How do they use it? This is not a class in how for you to prep it, but it is, you need to know this. Number 1, they can inject it. Number 2, it can be smoked. It can be sorted, insufflated, or it can be orally administered. Some people swallow it, or some individuals do what they call booty bumping. And they will actually prep their dope, they will draw it up into a needle, a syringe, they will knock the needle portion off, and they'll take some sort of lube, and they'll insert it into their rectum, their anus area. Yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, seriously, why? There's a lot of veins in there, okay? It's going to absorb into the veins, entering into your bloodstream, cross through your blood-brain barrier. It's another delivery method that's going to actually be a little bit more effective to that, causing you to feel better effects. You can't make this up. As much as I've actually been hearing about it a few times, about somebody inhaling smoke, whether it's meth, crack, or fentanyl, and blowing it into somebody's rectum. I mean, yes. Wednesday night, one of the guys I used to work with in Nashville, he works for Homeland Security now in San Francisco. He sent me a video where he actually recorded 2 dudes sitting there smoking crack doing that. Now, I'm going to spare you, I ain't going to show you that video because you can just imagine, all right? But what is very troubling is one guy sitting there smoking, blowing that into another guy's backside, out in public. Okay, let's put this to you, out in public.
Oh, no.
Imagine that, Walmart. You're like, man, I got to get bread to see 2 dudes bent over. You're like, I'm going to order bread for delivery. You can walk the other way. It's horrible. But one of the guys is sitting there in a hospital gown, like he's wearing the pants, and still got his hospital bracelet on. meaning he had been released probably within just a few hours of what he's actually doing right there on the street from the actual medical facility. All right? Again, addiction creates a whole different thing. So, the other way, if they're using it and absorbing it into here and inserting it into their anus region, their rectum, and everything, they're putting lube on the needle. On that. They're removing the needle from it, and that lube is going to be spit, shampoo, dish soap. One dude, I talked to him, and I was like, why is that toothpaste that close to that syringe? And he just kind of went, it works too. And I went, seriously? I said, you brush your teeth with that same tube. I have a problem with this. It's a point in time. So, this is what makes it so dangerous. When we talk about fentanyl, number one, the particles are 0.5 to 30 microns in size. Fentanyl particles. That means they're easily airborne. That means you can't see it. You're not going to smell it. All right? They float around. These ceiling fans. You may have a ceiling fan going on and finding one of your kids walk in right in the middle of an overdose situation and stuff like that. You're searching your kid's room, you start finding some of this paraphernalia that I'm showing you and everything. You've got a heater going on. You've got an air conditioner going on. You've got the windows open. There's always an exchange of air molecules. So again, the fentanyl particles are so small that you can't even see it. It's constantly going around. While you're sitting there, a few particles of it hits your eyes. A few particles hit your nose, where your mouth, where you want. You're sweating. Some of it starts to hit your skin and starts to absorb into your skin, and it's not a fast absorption. It takes about 2 hours for it to get in there. But it only takes approximately 2 milligrams of this substance to cause you to go into respiratory distress. For me, I got tired of seeing the pictures that I see online and show like a pencil lead or a little pile of dope, powder sitting next to a dime, and I was like, that doesn't look accurate. So, I'll show you what 2 milligrams looks like. This is 2 milligrams. What you're going to see inside of this bag, hold it up to the light, is colored sugar. That was actually weighed out. So that is scientifically done. That 2 milligrams was weighed out by our crime lab, Western Regional Crime Lab, out in Indieville. So that has actually been measured out in a lab. That's not to include bag weight. All right? So those particles of fentanyl are so small you can't see it, and that's all it takes for you to go into respiratory distress. That also means when I'm using fentanyl, that right there is all it takes for me to go down. That means if I'm buying 1/10 of a gram, there's a lot of those bags potentially in that 1/10 of a gram that I got. This is another reason that we start having our overdoses come into place. All right. The next thing is, what does this fentanyl look like? Is it just powder? Nope. Nationwide, through the National Forensic Laboratory Investigative Section or Service, I think that tallies about 33 states of lab seizures throughout the U.S. Whether it's a state or a private fed lab, well, we found fentanyl in heroin, both tar, powder, brown and white. We found it in illicitly manufactured prescription pills. So the DEA in December said 6 out of 10, every 6 out of 10 illicitly manufactured prescription pills that are on the street contain a lethal dose of fentanyl. Well, the number's just changed. It's 7 out of 10. Okay? So what that means is, why does my kid have an oxycodone tablet, a Xanax tablet, and they ain't got a prescription for it? Or if they do, and all of a sudden we're having issues like they may actually have to take it because there's legitimate reasons that you're going to have to take pain medications, okay? You may have been on it for a long period of time. All right, I want you to think about this. How many times when you started it, you may have taken like, oh, I've got extremely bad pain right now, or leg pain. Instead of taking one tablet every 4 to 6 hours as per needed for pain, you're like, I'm taking one now, and an hour and a half later, you go ahead and take another one. 2 hours later, you take another one, or 1.5, right? Now that 14-day or that 30-day prescription just ran out of day 22 on it if it's a 30-day prescription. What do you do? All right? So probably 8 out of every 10 of our current fentanyl users started off addicted with prescription pills. Okay? It's a trend. The trend is the cartels have put the stuff into place. And it's for a reason. It's driving profits through the roof. Right now, our fentanyl has topped the profits of cocaine by over 600%. We find these statistics from actual cartel figures that are on what we call Team America. They're working for us now. Okay? And this is cartels from Cartel Jalisco New Generation all the way into Sinaloa to the Gulf Cartel. And just think, well, we're in Morganton, these cartels don't. That's like California or Texas. Let me tell you how close cartels sit to us. How far are we from Shelby, North Carolina, where we're at right now? 45 minutes? Okay. Do you know there's been 2 major investigations dealing with the Gulf Cartel in Shelby, North Carolina, tied in with our Mennonite community? Oh, this just hit home now, didn't it? You know, there's been major, how far are we from the north? 15 minutes? There's been several cartel investigations there, cartel activity. All right? There's somebody within this community who still goes around and she teaches about her involvement with cartels when dealing with meth. I'm just not going to say her name because I haven't talked to her and say, hey, can I talk about your issue and stuff like that? But it's been proven. It is here. Nobody is immune to it at this point in time. It's not just a Charlotte issue. Ladies and gentlemen, it's here. They are the delivery system. They are the controllers. 99.9% of the drugs, controlled substances that are non-pharmaceuticals that are here in the U.S. are delivered and brought to us by the cartels, whether they manufacture or not. They are the control method. They are the delivery method of all this stuff. So, why is this in everything? Because they want it into everything. They want to drive up that level of addiction. So it's in all the prescription pills. So again, 7 out of 10 of our illicitly manufactured prescription pills contain a hot shot of fentanyl. They're finding cocaine submissions. They're finding it in crack submissions. Why would they find it in crack submissions? Well, to make crack, I have to have cocaine. All right? Why is it in the cocaine? Because they want another customer. They want another level of addiction. They want to increase that high. They keep continuously ramping up the carnage, the level of addiction, the addiction factor, which drives up their sales. Again, as we talked about, why does we get like this? And somebody automatically, I think it was on this side. Who said greed at the beginning? Bam, number 1. That's true. It comes breaks down to that. They're not doing it just for free. It's because of greed. This is a hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of $1 billion in your industry. We are the largest consumer. All right. They're also finding fentanyl in ecstasy seizures, methylene dioxymethamphetamine, acid seizures, LSD. They're even finding marijuana seizures. Weed seizures. It's in chronic now. Okay. Like, you're eating a salad is not safe. I know everybody's like, how? Why would it be in weed? Okay, I can track a lot of that back out west, and that's predominantly where cartels have got into the weed manufacturing business on this side of the border, more specifically in California. Because California is the largest distributor of domestically grown marijuana and probably the largest producer of marijuana worldwide, actually overtaking like Mexico, because nobody wants Mexican ditch weed. You want that California weed that's coming in about 37% THC. That way, if you smoke it, your neighbor got high while they were sitting there watching that same guy. Okay? So it's a whole different realm of what things are going on out there. But the weed that's coming in from out of there, there's a little bit of components. Some of it is intentionally mixed, and some of it is a little bit of cross-contamination. But it's there. All right, so you have to be aware of it. So the rainbow fentanyl pills. Why? How? There's so many schematics out there. Some people say, well, the cartels are doing it for branding. Like the red and the blue ones, well, that comes from Cartel Jalisco New Generation. The green and pink ones, that's coming from Sinaloa Cartel. It's not. When you hear the term, this is we think this is geared towards marketing, like a delivery marketing method, like trying to capture the attention of the youth, our kids, for this. Okay, that was proven. Sam Kilman is, I think you would label him as a freelance reporter. He's got a fantastic book out called Dreamland. I've read the book. Part of what he wrote about in his book with heroin coming in place about 2010 back onto the market, he does a spin about Nashville, Tennessee, where we're at. Everybody talks about in the book was guys that I used to work with. All right, we worked together in some units. He's reached out to his cartel contacts that he still has down south of the border. I'm talking about Mexico. Says specifically what is going on with these prescription pills that are colored. They all look like an oxycodone 30 milligram tablet. Why? Both cartel heads, straight out, said this is to attract kids so we can get kids hooked younger and expand our customer base. Man, look, that's pure poison, okay? Like, kids and elderly, two people I have passion for, all right? I don't know how many times as a cop I roll out, somebody calls us 2 o'clock in the morning, and it'd play out just like this. Somebody stand there, man, somebody stole my car, carjacked me. And I'm looking, I'm like, what are you doing here at 3 o'clock in the morning? You live 2 counties away. I was giving somebody a ride. Oh, you were? Who was that somebody? Oh, it was just a friend. I just saw this girl walking, and I picked her up and said she needed a ride. And I'm like, looking around, and I'm like, you know, see all these condoms and syringes out here and showcasing sitting on the ground? It was that area. Well, they was in buying dope or trying to pick up a prostitute or something like that, and ended up getting their car jacked. And now they call us and say, somebody robbed me. Took my car, and I'm like, you really want me to put this on paper? Okay. I know you need it for your insurance purpose, but I see you got a ring on your hand. Mom, I'm just going to let you know, let's go see that report. She's going to go, why were you on Shelby Street at 3 a.m. when you're supposed to be on the way to work? You don't work that way. Okay? So, those folks, I'm not going to say I have pity for. Okay, yes, they're addicted, they're in a bad situation. Yes, they need Jesus. Something drove them there and stuff like that, but I don't count them as much as a victim. A child and an elderly person, though, I'll tell you I do. All right? The children need us to raise them. They need the foundation from us. They need to know biblically where they fit at, whether they're a boy or a girl, what their role is, how we actually raise other people. We take care of people. We help people in need. We pray for folks. And we build a solid family foundation. We do things like, man, we get a job. When we get up at 2 in the afternoon, when we go to Walmart, we still ain't got on our pajama pants. Okay? Every time I see that, I look, and I already know the backstory. I'm like, man, it's 2:15. That dude is sitting there with purple-dyed hair in his pajama pants and Crocs on that are too big. And when he walks on, he smells like he forgot to get that bathtub in the last 4 days. And we're like, already know? So, this is bad, all right, because this stuff hits our schools. And we're not immune to this. We can't say, oh, this has never been found. I can't count for our seniors here. But I'm telling you, I'm 99.9% surely this has landed here. This is not just the Charlotte. This is not just the Greensboro. This is not just the Raleighs. This is not the Winston-Salems. Is here, where we're at. So, because we have that level of addiction, what else are we dealing with out here? Meth. All right? And every substance I'm talking to you about, there was a lot of like stereotypes. It's like, man, fentanyl and heroin, that's just in the white communities with somebody living in a trailer park. And I'm like, nope. And crack cocaine, it's only in the black projects. Nope. Because I've been in a $2 million house knocking that stuff out.
Right.
Okay? There is no boundaries when it comes to this. Okay? So, meth, an extremely strong stimulant. And it still sits to be our #1 seized controlled substance nationally. All right? Stimulant. Schedule to substance because there is some medical purposes. When we talk about medical purposes, I'm talking about certain medications. Whether it's phentermine, Adderall, these are things like our amphetamine type pills. Here's the bad thing. Here's the telltale sign. Besides the pipes that I sent you, that passed around, or syringes, too common, smoking, and delivery methods of injecting. If I suspect my son, daughter, family member who separated themselves from school, when I'm talking to them, they got that I can't hold still. Okay, just this. And you're like, what is going on? And at night, they ain't going to bed. Like, it is not unheard of for some of these individuals to stay at 70 hours straight before their body physically says, no, bro, I'm going to shut down, and it hits a switch. All right? And they go into a deep, deep, deep sleep for about 12 to 14 hours. Okay? And your bladder don't last that long, so guess what? They're going to wake up and pile their urine and stuff like that. All right? So, I mean, these are things, and the reason I say this is because these are stories I keep hearing from people. Like, I saw my kid, he wasn't doing anything at school anymore. He just constantly couldn't hold still. Like, sometimes I would see him running around the house. He would get in the cabinets. And this was predominantly with the one-pot method and stuff. That's where somebody can actually go. I can literally, just, for one pot, if I want to make methamphetamine, I can go into Walmart, get every single thing I need, down to the pseudoephedrine, down to the batteries, down to the ammonia fumes, the source of ammonia fumes from a cold compressed pack, to the tubing, to the bottles, anything and everything I need, down to my lye. I can go to Walmart and get all that. I could walk into the parking lot and I could start breaking it down, and from the time I walk out the door, I could have about 1.5 grams to 2 grams of finished product methamphetamine sitting in the Walmart parking lot within about 2.5 hours from the time I walk out of the store. Okay? So the one-pot method, though, is gone. It's not saying it's gone. It still exists because crystal meth is everywhere. All right? Crystal meth is huge. And don't think, well, crystal meth only just sits within certain communities, because I'm not going to say the particular school, but I have actually knocked off the tenured religious studies professor at a major university somewhere around Nashville who, when he came to deliver meth to us in his college van with the university name on there, he had his 30 pounds of meth in the back between 2 boxes mixed in a shipment of Bibles.
Wow.
Me and him had a special conversation. I was like, look, I ain't going to say it like this, like you're driving a bus to hell, but let me tell you what you look like right now. I was like, you don't even understand. I said, I don't even get this. I like, you're supposed to be like a reverend preacher, and you're supposed to be in this level of community and stuff like that. Addiction, all right, this is extremely strong. So, users are going to use anywhere from somewhere about 1/10 gram to 1 gram a day. Other thing that I want you to pay attention to, our users automatically become extremely paranoid. When I say paranoid, they think everybody's watching them, they think everybody's looking at them. Billy Bob's out there in the trailer taking his VCR apart at 2 o'clock in the morning, and he's out there looking around going, I know the government's looking for me. And I'm like, no, but they got a little bit of the better stuff to do, okay? They're looking at us trying to keep, the devil stuff out of, our schools and everything like that. They're not trying to watch you, all right? So, what does this stuff look like? When we found meth, we're finding fentanyl in our meth submissions also, all right? But some of this is in ecstasy forms. Here's what's bad. These party kids and college students and some high school students are wanting to get and use methylene dioxymethamphetamine, ecstasy, MDMA. Some of them are doing it for party methods. Some are doing it while they're at school, because that is the thing when young kids are in school and somebody's like, hey, you want to try this? Okay? It's not like the old adage of you're going to get kidnapped. Like Mom used to tell me, she's like, if somebody comes around in that white van and tries to lure you in with some candy, don't get in. And I'm like, Mom, I'm fat, okay? So I'm gonna jump up in a van, I'm gonna take that bag of candy, matter of fact, I'm gonna drive that van. All right? So kids are just passing this around. I don't know how many kids I've talked to include an old family member that started where another child passed them something simple like an Adderall tablet. Kid who had a legitimate prescription said, try this, it's gonna make you feel good. Sitting in class. All right? So, are they actually getting that? Or are they gonna get a hot shot of meth? Because ecstasy tablets right now, our labs are showing that it has meth in it, so it's going to be a different high, so it's going to take them somewhere that they weren't intending to be. So it creates a situation where now somebody, the ambulance show up at high school, the ambulance show up at parties or something like that. On the weekends, mom and dad are gone while they're hanging out with their friends or something like that. Or it's got a hot shot of fentanyl in it. And that may be one of your own spouses. That may be your own child, and you walk in and go, I had a suspicion that they were using like party drugs, they were using ecstasy and stuff like that, but now they're on respiratory arrest. And when they went to bed last night, that was the last time I saw them at 9:30 when I turned out the light. When I got up this morning and said, hey, get up for breakfast, I walked in and they looked compressed, and I could see the bluing and everything on their skin. Like, I knew it was bad. They weren't breathing, okay? So don't get spun up on, well, they died from that. Well, yeah, you can overdose of meth, but there's probably fentanyl involved in it. So what does crystal meth look like? These pictures that you're seeing here come from the crime lab, but some of these are actually from here. Morgan and PD have now shared some pictures of stuff that they were actually getting on some of their seizures. I want you to see that, all right? Because you need to see what some of this stuff looks like. You need to see those small baggies that are associated with it, the meth pipes, the syringes and things, coupled with somebody's activity. What does my child look like? Do they dissociate? Do they not want to talk to me? And it's outside of the teenage vetting, because teens lose their mind. We all get that, all right? Something happens when they turn like 13 and that automatic teen is added to their age, they go upside down. Like, they don't know us, like, you're at school going, hey, let me drop you off, hey, give me a hug before you get out, and they're like, oh, that's embarrassing. I'm like, I raised you. I'm still paying for you. Matter of fact, the payment is due on the 29th of this month. Hug me. So, it could be big shards, it could be little shards, or it doesn't even have to be like in a glass type form. It could be in a powder form. All right? So, meth can be smoked, snorted, injected, booty bumped. All right? When people are snorting, what I see is these straws with the bezeled edges on them. When I say the bezeled edges, I mean this. Here's the irony of this. I found this straw in the parking lot of Aldi's. How far are we from Aldi's? Not even 5 minutes. Okay? This exists everywhere. I've walked into Publix and found one of these out there. Now, I'm not knocking any of these branches and chains. You can't control every customer going in there. Ain't nobody searching you before you go into Walmart, going to get that gallon of milk and stuff like that. Somebody said, here, come here, turn around. Put your hands behind your back, start searching it. Okay? This is all over the place. I am literally going to all these, and I open up my door, and I look down at that, and I'm like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. How do I know? Why should I suspect that somebody has used this for meth? Number one, it's in a parking lot location sitting on the ground. I kind of know what type of dope feeds around certain areas here in town, even though I'm not the police here. After 20 years of experience, you can kind of figure out what goes in different pockets, just behaviors that you see with individuals and stuff. Number two, it's a cut piece of straw, it's got a beveled edge. That means it's got an angle, and it's done like that for a particular reason. I'll pass this around. This isn't, I've just dumped like burn marks and stuff on here. There's no dope. This hasn't been anybody's mouth or anything like this. There's no saliva. But just so you understand what I'm talking about, I'm talking about a straw that is cut with beveled edges. So, I suspected that's going to be meth. How do I know it's meth? Well, I take a portion of that straw that I got, and that's not the straw that I found, but I drop it into a field test kit, and it comes up test positive for methamphetamine. all right? So it's fantastic. So what is paraphernalia? Other things I need to look at. Again, glass pipes with a ball end on it. I can order these from the internet. I can hit any of these smoke shops. I promise you. If you've got an extra minute or two today, when you drive by one, just stop. Go inside and see how many items are sitting on the shelf labeled 18 and up, or for novelty purposes only, or for tobacco use only. Now, for those of you who smoke cigarettes, I stopped smoking, I think, in 2011. I've never smoked a cigarette out of a glass pipe with ball end yet. Okay? I've never smoked a cigarette out of a glass pipe. I've never smoked a cigarette out of a glass pipe with a Brillo filter in it. Okay? I've never smoked a cigarette out of a glass one-hit bomb. All right? Like a one-hitter. Like you get off a weed or something like that. So, I didn't even roll my own cigarettes, so I didn't have to like go get a cigarello or something like that. Switch for sweet, buy them individually and stuff. I can always tell who's got weed because I'm sitting in Walmart and there's a car pulling up to the gas pumps. They don't get gas. They got the windows down, they got the radio up, and they get out and then they walk straight inside. And I'm like, cars running, radios up. You're at Walmart. Like, can you not recognize what's at Walmart? Okay? And all of a sudden they go inside, and you just follow them. I just walk into the counter, I just follow them. And they're like, yeah, I need them great switch sweets right there. And I'm like, here it comes. Because guess what happens? They're going to plug up the gas pumps because they're going to sit down, they're going to start going, they're going to start knocking the tobacco out of there, and they're going to start rolling the split themselves. And I'm like sitting there going, bro, I just need to pump $10, okay? So I need to top off the gas tank. I got to do something about to get on the road. Can you like go roll that joint over there or something like that? So, this tells me that if I see this, coupled with the behaviors that you may be seeing changing, somebody's demeanor, those fast twitch motions and stuff like that, Lord, we all need to know about this. So, multiple pieces of paraphernalia that are out there. Behaviors. When I talk about behaviors, if you ever hear the term the nod, if you see that behavior pattern change in somebody, you start seeing the pipes, the pieces of foil or something like that. Let me go 4 steps farther than that. All of a sudden, as you're talking to them, you look at them, they got extremely pinpoint pupils. Okay? The nod is not a comfort zone. All right? The nod, for them it is. That means they're in the high. That's where they're feeling their euphoria. All right? The bad thing about what's going on with this is we start seeing a lot of different substances built in now. We thought fentanyl was the top. Nope. Cartels are putting nitazene in, protonitazene, methotonitazene, xylazine. Xylazine is what they call trank. That is about 20 times stronger than fentanyl. It puts somebody in a different high because it hits on different neuroreceptors of the brain. And that's huge. All right? So that means if it's 20 times stronger than fentanyl, it just drove up that level of addiction 20 times stronger. We see individuals actually looking and going, man, I don't like that xylazine, but I mean, once it's in there, there's nothing I can do. Now that they hit that different high on it, guess what they're seeking right now? That. Methotonitazene, all of the stuff that's coming into there. Guess who the largest producer of all these nitazenes are? China. Guess who's our largest shipper of all these nitazenes before they come into Mexico or what's getting shipped into the U.S.? China. Do we see two groups now kind of working together currently? We do. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This spins a little bit more out of control as we have more issues at the border. Okay? This isn't a pro or against open borders or anything like this. I'm telling you, I've been to Texas. I went to Texas 3 times last year to train. I've been in El Paso. I've sat at the borders. Okay? You want to see some real spins and accurate depictions of what is going on at the border? Go to border911.org. You will see actual facts. I'm going to point that is an actual legitimate, solid foundation of individuals showing you what's going on at the border. All right? What you're seeing, what's being hidden on the news, should be alarming for us. What that also means is there's a ton of individuals that are coming into the U.S. that we don't know who they are. We don't have to know who everybody is, but you should have a little bit of an account of somebody. So when they come or fall prey to somebody, whether it's controlled substances or human trafficking, whether it's sex trafficking or labor trafficking, it becomes problematic. And let me be clear, that is occurring here. If you've got one, you've got the other. So a year and a half ago, I retired from the police side to step in to work for a nonprofit called Hope for Justice. My full-time function now is I'm a human trafficking investigator. I do both sex and labor trafficking. I get the tips and complaints, and we get actual victims that come to us and say, I've fallen victim to this, I need help. Some of it's been emergency, like rescue type things, like they tell me where they're at in Charlotte, I look it up on the map, I grab my partner who works in South Carolina, we meet there, and I'm like, we're going to have this person meet us at a Taco Bell on this location at this point in time. She's going to jump in our vehicle, and we're rushing off with her. Okay? I can tell you, out of all the human trafficking cases that I saw as a drug and a gang detective, had a drug nexus to it. I can tell you, out of my time as a human trafficking investigator, doing that exclusively, I've only found one case where a controlled substance did not play into it. And my victim was a victim in another country before they finally got to come back into the U.S. All right? So there's feeders on this. And even our gangs know this. Our gangs, it's not just our cartels out here pushing dope. It's our gangs. It's not just a street corner hustler. It's not just somebody independent, you know, another person who's fighting substance abuse disorder or something like that, someone who's addicted. It's also our gangs, okay? Because they're a for-profit business, all right? So they're out there doing it, but here's the other kicker. They realize, because of greed, like she talked about earlier, just so you understand, the dope game, you see, is very profitable. The human trafficking game is very profitable, too. And you go, well, how? Let me give you a snapshot of this. Homeland Security estimates that one human trafficking victim, one person in sex trafficking, can generate approximately $100,000 to $150,000 a year to a trafficker. Unlike dope, when I buy dope, my source of supply may be in Nogales, Arizona. When I go to rehab, say if I'm selling kilos of cocaine, and I sell 4 kilos a week, and it's a couple of days before I run out of my supply, and I call my people in Nogales, and I got to get my 4 kilos of cocaine here. It's got to travel from Nogales to right here in Morganton. It's going to run down the interstate. It's going to pass out all the slicked out SUVs on the interstate. So there's a lot of chances of it getting picked off, interdicted. There's a lot of chances of the other dope boys, the other robbery crews knocking it off. There's a whole lot that goes on. My dope may have never even made it from Mexico. It may have been 2 factions, CJNG and Sinaloa, in Gulf fighting. So my dope may have never even made it to the stash house. My stash house may have got interrupted and knocked off somewhere else. There's so many variations. But when I have one trafficking victim, 3 people know about it. Me, the trafficker, you, the victim, and the buyer. And I know we're like, well, you know, what's that got to do with controlled substances? I'm telling you, statistically, they feed hand in hand. Because I see a lot of our people that have fallen into addiction to include somebody's son, to include somebody's daughter, somebody's niece, somebody's nephew, somebody's granddaughter, somebody's grandson, their son, their daughter, whatever it is, has fallen into this. It's a spider web. They don't have that $20 to get their fix that day. They don't have that $60. But that dope dealer is stepping into trafficking because they know it's a very profitable business. Okay? And we see that our kids are falling into realms of addiction at a younger age. And the same's happening with our trafficking victims. The average age for a female involved in human trafficking right now sits at about 13. 13. Mama's daughter just turned 18. And yes, I know y'all gonna think I'm crazy. I'm 51, and my youngest daughter just turned 3. Just turned 3, and everybody's like, bro, why? And I'm like, my wife is hot, I'm not, she wanted kids, there we are. Right? So that's the best way I can explain that. So, but I look at it from that, and I'm like, man, how many people would reach out to them? The average age for a boy is 11. Okay? Coupled with what we have with mass migration, folks coming in, there's tons, hundreds and hundreds, and I'm not exaggerating, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of children showing up at the border with a note in hand, like a 5-year-old kid by himself, him or herself, with a note, giving a name and an address and a phone number. Seriously. And everybody that's at that crossing point, every person, you don't cross for free. You don't cross for free. There's a price tag involved in it. Same people that are controlling our dough flow are controlling the movements of those folks down there also. And they don't have to be Hispanic. They could be coming in from China. They could be coming in from Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Iran, Africa, any of these other countries out there. You're like, why are they not just coming here to the U.S., like landing at JFK and stuff like that, landing in L.A.? They're just walking across the border. Bad situation. For us, for the drug purposes, we got to understand that sometimes some people are being used to put in forced criminality. So there's some of these kids that are being involved in this. They're landing in, say, San Ysidro as a border crossing point, San Diego. And all of a sudden they come back in 7 months later and they come in through El Paso, Texas. And the kid now has a different name and a different date of birth, but the same fingerprints that they captured in San Ysidro. Matter of fact, the parents that are bringing him in, quote unquote parents, are a whole different group of people. The cartels are using them as the delivery method, as a basically a cover to run money back south. All right? For us, we have to look at this. What else runs with the drug stuff? What else can I potentially see if I have a family member addicted? Human trafficking. I promise you, you'll see it. You'll see it all over. It is not unheard of for somebody who's been addicted, who can't get the money. The trafficker goes, you know what? I'll get you $1,000 a day. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to meet these dudes at this hotel. I'm going to take you, go meet these dates. You go in, you go hook up with them. And at the end of the day, I'll get you what you need. Or it may be a poly drug. They may be given a stimulant in the morning and an opiate, some sort of CNS depressant at night. All right? So the addiction doesn't just stay an addiction. They're pushed into other schematics. Again, I see this day in, day out, and we can't say, well, no, it ain't just, it's just happening in Charlotte. Nope. 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 True fact, 1 out of every 3 runaways right now are approached by a trafficker within the first 48 hours, offered an opportunity to step in the realm of trafficking within the first 48 hours of them leaving home. With a large volume of those kids being in foster care. All right? So this is an evil issue that we're dealing with. All right? There's bad stuff that's happening all the way around. So it's not just controlled substances. If you see this within your home, that's why I always advise people, please step in as fast as possible. Intervene. Start praying hard. And you don't just pray. You call him and pray. You call her and pray. There is power in prayer, okay? You understand this and I know this. All right? And I'm passionate about that. Because it's more than what we see. Somebody goes into addiction, they got to have that desire. They have to make that decision themselves. Let's say if they go one step deeper, all of a sudden they become a trafficking victim. The average amount a trafficking victim will return back to the trafficking situation and or their same trafficker is 7 times before they come out of this. I've rescued trafficking victims or gotten them into short, long-term programs. Boom, they disappear. I get a phone call from them 45 days to 6 months later saying, hey, I need your help again. I'm like, what do you mean? I thought you were at this program in Ohio, and now they're in Texas. And I'm like, what are you doing in Texas? I left the program, I got back into this. And I've, with this new guy, or my previous trafficker, and I'm tired of selling myself. Okay? If I look at the average age and see this, and you get that phone call, or you hear this story, and it is a 13-year-old girl or an 11-year-old boy, let me be specific. I'm working trafficking cases within a 10-minute drive of where we're all sitting here. Okay? They're all feeders. Everything results back into some sort of controlled substance nexus. And it's not just sex trafficking and working labor trafficking on the other side of this also, okay? Can't give specifics of it, but I want to tell you that there's a whole dark world that opens up from this. So, there's my information. If you have more questions, that is my cell number. You can reach out to me. If you call me and I don't answer, please leave a message. But that's my email. That's the group I actually work for. I'm not here today on my own. I live here. When Cody called me, like, we had both been scrambling, trying to get this coordinated. He come to me and said, didn't I offer this to you first? Didn't I say, hey, man, can we bring this to the congregation, people? This is passionate. If you want more of these talks, reach out to me. Guess how much this costs? Show up. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is what we are supposed to be doing. Christians in the community, helping, growing, teaching, all right, identifying. Like everything else, technology evolves. Like, if I look at this 30 years ago, when we was on the phone, it was on the wall, it was attached to a cable, whether it was a short cable or a long cable, and then phones got cool, and they got little plastic cases, and they could sit on the wall, now they sit on tables, and then they went to the big bag phones. If you were a player, you had the money to get that bag phone and stuff like that. I grew up poor, so I didn't have that. We had pay phones, and also we started getting them bigger brick phones, we started getting flip phones, and now we got this. We don't even need a camera. Just like technology, everything goes into pieces. Satan's work steps into this realm of technology. Whether it's our controlled substances, we didn't have fentanyl 20, 30 years ago. Our biggest hazard with controlled substances was finding a crack pipe and accidentally getting stuck with the broken glass from it. Now, just being in the same room as somebody that's had fentanyl in it can cause you and or I to go into respiratory arrest. Okay? This is, again, things change. And I applaud you for coming here and just seeing this, taking the time out of a Saturday and seeing this. Because that's a beautiful thing. So if you want to go a little bit further in this, I go to 10 Water Life Church, Illinois. This Wednesday and next Wednesday, I'm doing human trafficking classes for our congregation. Okay? If you got youth, you got junior high school students, bring them. We've got a program there to put them in. All right, Wednesday nights are Bible study and or specialty programs. So the next 2 Wednesdays, I'm covering that. This week, this Wednesday is going to be on sex trafficking. The following Wednesday is going to be on labor trafficking. I promise you'll pick up something. Because you've already seen it, you just don't recognize it. But again, there's a common denominator, especially if you're a social worker, you're a therapist or something like that. You're in these schools. Some of the kids that you're touching, dealing with every day, if you're out here shopping, somebody walking past you in that store is fighting with something. And that struggle could be that addiction, that struggle could be dealing with forced criminality or, stepping them into the trafficking realm. Okay? Part of the key to that is recognizing it and knowing how to counteract and deal with it, how to protect us, how to protect ourselves, and protect our congregation, okay? Because there is a direct assault right now on Christianity. You got to believe that, all right? I don't know what everybody's heart right is, where your heart sits, but I'm going to promise you this. If you look biblically, just pick up that book and take a look at it and go, I see what they wrote a long time ago, and it's actually playing out today, and it's for a reason. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen, we don't get to change this. Everybody's like, man, how do we stop this? And I'm like, you can't. You got to rewrite Scripture. We're getting there. We may not be at the exact end, but like my preacher says, Lord, we are one day closer today than we were yesterday. All right? That's all there is to it. Thank y'all very much. I've got stuff sitting here, so I'm gonna hang out here. Please come up here, take pictures and stuff. I'll walk you through this individually, show you. Feel free to handle stuff, even down to the prescription pills I have here. They're not real prescription pills. Okay, they're substances I get from the some of the controlled substance companies. They send that to us without the actual drugs in it. It's just the actual pill and their binders and stuff like that. So again, thank you what you do. If your heart is not right with God, please take some time today to stop, research, look at that, and go, man, what's going to save me in the end, okay? And that is becoming and giving yourself to God, all right? Thank you. I love you.